Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law-Splaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Ricada of Ricada Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. And with me today is a very special guest who I've been kind of wanting to talk to for a long time. And we finally have a really good reason to do it. Mr. Arch, which used to be Arch Warhammer.
Until a cease and desist organized by a Marxist website, yes.
Yeah. Whoa. How's it going, man? Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so we're here to talk about, I guess, some recent developments in something that I like, and you seem to like it too. Games Workshop. Well, I mean, I don't like them so much as I like the product that they made and the universe that they've built, but they've lately undertaken some we'll call them questionable moves.
Questionable moves, yes. See, you say we now have a good reason to talk. I would disagree. I say we have a catastrophic reason.
Well, okay, yes, but one man's fortune is another man's misfortune. I don't know if that makes any sense. But yes, no, it's terrible circumstances under which we are speaking. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But one of the main reasons that you're the first person I reached out to talk to about this, and it's because I think you were kind of the test case. Like you were the guinea pig that Games Workshop used in a way to kind of implement this decision. And to be clear to the audience, the decision we're talking about, and we're going to be talking about as we go through this show, is that Games Workshop is going after fan creators, and they bought many of them out, and then the rest of them all got a giant middle finger pointed right at their face. And they did this to you first. So I thought it was appropriate to bring you on.
They did. The thing is, I've seen this kind of coming for a very long time now, honestly. At the very least, something like it, though I had expected it to be more in line with how many other settings have been invaded and infiltrated over the years, frankly.
Right, yeah. That's one thing Games Workshop has been relatively resistant to. I mean, they've got some nods, right? Like they prioritized Sororitas and stuff like that. But at the same time, it was also kind of time for them to get a nice revamp, an affordable army that people could field. And they haven't, shockingly, they haven't capitulated to demands for Space Marines with tits or anything like that yet.
They have not. I have a fair few little Games Workshop insiders at this point, which tell me some very interesting things. They are aware of what's kind of going on in the wider context. You may remember the Warhammer is for everyone but post they made.
Yep.
That caused one hell of an internal shit show with a lot of meetings where they basically agreed that no, the Twitter channel is just for Games Workshop. Don't comment on anything else there.
Right. And that's a smart move. And I've seen, I don't follow them as closely as you do. I'm a hobbyist. I barely have any minis. I would love to have time to play full games, but there's no way in my life I can right now. So I'm relegated to the books. I've got like all of the collector's edition books that they've put out. Because I that's what I particularly love is I love the Black Library products. I think I think they put just such craftsmanship into the books, and I love that they're limited. So I decided to start buying those, and I also like to read them. I guess that's important. But yeah, so I don't follow them as closely as I assume you do. But I have noticed that after that sort of announcement, they really cooled off on on admonishing their fans.
There was a very sizable backlash, and it was specifically due to their wording, because most of the post was just corporate fluff. You know, we stand for good things, happy things, and not the bad things. And then they had to end it with, if you don't agree, you will not be missed. A lot of people reacted very poorly to that, and unsurprisingly so. But as you mentioned too, like I do believe something like this was in the works for a while when it came, at the very least, to the semi-legal measures that they're currently taking. And they very well may have used me as a test case for that. Because again, I kind of saw this coming, but I attempted to build a bit of a community alliance like 4 years ago with the community spotlight, where I tried to bring on people and be like, hey, this is another community creator. You should check him out. You should subscribe to him, and so on. And I was utterly unsuccessful in that. To the point that now there is almost no community creator community, if you get what I mean.
Right.
Everyone is doing their own thing. Like, everyone is taking their own independent action, and nobody's speaking out in one voice, unified or anything, which is what GW noticed with me. Like, nobody was interested in addressing the issue, and so now they know that there's not going to be an organized backlash. There's not going to be a truly effective one.
Right. There aren't a lot of collaborations going on that I've seen with Warhammer creators. I know, Major Kills teamed up with one or two guys, but it seems like it's a pretty limited sort of, they seem to be friends, but I don't see a lot. I mean, like, and I'm not calling anybody out. Pretty much everybody who talks Warhammer that I watch or listen to, I like them. So there's no criticisms here, but I don't see Lutin teaming up with people. I don't see Milk and Cookies Total War doing stuff either. He seems to, I think he started out more Warhammer or more Total War-y, but now he's deep into the Warhammer lore because of their Total War franchise. But I don't see a lot of it coming out, with tons of overlap. I've noticed that about the community, but again, I kind of follow from the outside. So
it's very insular, and weirdly so. Like, again, I've had my personal little beefs with some people, but that's, again, entirely separate to the issue here.
Right.
The thing is, we don't have a unified front, which means we're weak, and GW knows that. And I also think that they are aware of what they're doing too. I think they're entirely aware that this is going to cause a lot of backlash, but they're willing to risk it because they don't think it's going to be long term. And unfortunately, I think they're correct. Like, there's no real measures to be taken. People will be outraged for a month, then the next box set will drop, and everything will be back to normal, I fear.
Yeah, it kind of, and the couple times it's flared up in the past, it kind of seems that way. But maybe, I think we might be getting a little bit ahead of this. What I'd like to do, let's roll back, and if it's okay with you, I'd like to kind of introduce you to the audience, get your story a little bit. Because like I've been watching, I think I was watching your show before I even started broadcasting on YouTube, because you talked about something I was interested in, and so let's do that, because I think, and I kind of jumped the gun and started right into the topic, but it occurs to me that not everybody in my audience is going to be familiar with every Warhammer creator out there. Or I don't know if you even consider yourself a Warhammer creator anymore, or because I remember when they went after your name, that there was it wasn't like a rebranding, but it was like an okay, well, yeah, I'll be more Arch and less Warhammer at that point. So can we kind of get your background?
I am all for fluffing myself up, of course.
Well, good.
There's no problems with that. You're pretty much correct. Like, I started out doing the Warhammer content when the rumors of Total War Warhammer came out, because that was an absolute dream for me. Like, the Total War series plus Warhammer, two of my favorite franchises. God, that would be fantastic, right?
Right.
And so I just started uploading videos, and for some mystical reason, people started watching them.
Yeah. Well, they're good. They were good. I mean, that helped. Look,
I
I
don't
can
know.
fluff too.
I've watched some of my older videos. I don't know if they were good.
Well, they were here. My sort of introduction to the Warhammer universe was like Dawn of War 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know what I was playing. Right. I take that back. I can go much farther back to where I would be going to the comic and game store to buy Magic the Gathering cards when I was like 15 on a bike. And there would be a bunch of fat weirdos playing this game with these cool giant I was looking, they were Wraith Lords, Eldar, Wraith Lords and Wraith Lords, or whatever, the like mini Titans that they had. I loved the long lines of Eldar, the way the aesthetic of them, but I never could afford anything, and I never could understand the game. I didn't have anyone who played it or anything around. So I guess that's my original introduction. I like the way they look, but I never got into it. Then I buy Dawn of War 1 while I'm working at Circuit City, or I think just after I'd left working there. I bought Dawn of War 1 and played the heck out of that. And then kind of fell off Warhammer for a while until I was working at a financial institution. I would walk to the bookstore, and then I picked up the Eisenhorn book one day, and then I was hooked. So by the time that Total War 1 is coming out, I am pumped because I've been reading these books and enjoying this universe now for at the time for quite a while. And so then I stumble across guys like you on YouTube, actually mostly you at the time, and start watching these videos and learning more and more about it.
I had a very fortuitous timing because nobody was doing this. There was Vaults of Terror was the only other lore channel, and he'd kind of been halting along for a while. He'd been doing it for years, so he'd kind of covered everything he wanted to cover, I expect. So I kind of came in there in a completely open market, frankly. And I was so lucky also as to get in contact with a few other people and got some connections and got some wind around me like that as well. So I had the market almost to myself for quite a while there, which was nice.
Yeah, it always is.
It is.
So you start doing these videos, you start getting some traction and attention, and then and you become, I mean, you were Arch Warhammer. Was that, and so that's like the primary content you were doing at the time, right? Were you delving off into other subjects? Or I remember when you kind of started doing that, I think, at least that I noticed it, but I don't know if you could kind of fill in on what time that was, because I don't remember specifically when. But
like I did some Let's Play stuff just to have other things to fill the channel, but it too was almost mostly focused around Warhammer, playing like the Total War Warhammer mod for Medieval 2, for example.
Right.
And I didn't start going over into other content, like of a more commentary nature, until much, much later. Though I did get vocal on some subjects fairly early, because I was also a big fan of several other settings too, and video games in particular. And the whole Gamergate thing happened, which was a wake-up call to me and a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, that was the smelling salt for pretty much a good chunk of the internet.
Yeah. I was also a massive fan of Total Biscuit. Still the best game review to have ever existed. And I watched him go crazy, let's be honest about it. And that really kind of had me spiraling off into other content as well, because when you start seeing how things are being torn down, you kind of have a choice. You either try to do something about it, or you wait for the house to burn down.
Right. So what was the I guess what was the move to do something about it? Was it just expanding commentary into that sort of area? Because Gamergate was really before I was ever publicly on the internet. I mean, I was in a couple Facebook groups, but that's about it.
No, I started talking a bit more about it in just random videos, and I also got to know Sargon and V around that time as well. So I went on a fair few streams with them. And that's first also when I started to notice the divide within the Warhammer community, as a lot of people would be like really angry, like, oh, you talk to Sargon? He's literally Satan.
That's true. He is.
That is true, correct.
He's literally Satan. Yeah, I remember watching one of the first time I saw you do a stream with Sargon or an interview with Sargon, you guys were like, where you met in person, I think. You were at a cafe or something like that.
Yes.
But yeah, so you jump on the bandwagon of evil. What made you choose the evil path of the nasty Gamergate murderers?
Honestly, because like I've always had a little bit of a spicy sense of humor. Like, I love me a good racist joke, okay? Because
who doesn't?
I find the idea of racism inherently absurd. Like the idea of judging someone purely based on their skin color. Like, everyone immediately recognized the absurdity of that. And I was a huge fan of people like Eddie Murphy, for example. Like, excellent comedian, and George Carlin.
Right.
So when I started seeing stuff in Gamergate and started seeing the ridiculous shit back then, I was like, I think I know where this is going, and I'm not going to like it when I get there. So I figured I'd try to lay the foundation. That's where the whole idea of the community spotlight came in, because I figured, like, okay, let's try and build a community. And, well, I can't say I succeeded in that, sadly.
Yeah, well, you got to have, to build a community, you have to have people who want to be in it, right? Like they have to be willing to enter. But okay, I got to ask something here, because, and this is near and dear to me. So how you answer will determine the rest of the interview, of course. But you say that you find racism absurd, but what about the Finns?
The Finns are third ranking. Like, the Swedes are at the top. They're obviously the worst, and they need to be invaded. And I'm not saying exterminated, but second-class citizens at the very least, okay? Then we've got the Danes, and the Danes are fine. Like, they're our vacation colony. That's okay. They can exist. But Finland, colony of Sweden, that means that they're subservient to the literal evil, stupid people. I haven't come up with a true solution to the Finnish question yet, but I'm working on it.
Will you eventually have a final solution to the Finnish question?
I imagine I will. It'll either be seceding the two of them to Russia, or just calling them Swedes as well and setting them into the second-grade citizenship. No voting rights, mind you, at all.
No, of course not. No, see, and I'm so glad you answered that correctly, because the dirty Finlandians, Finlanders, I don't even know. Do they even know what to call themselves? I don't think so. I think it would have. I
believe they refer to themselves as Finnish in English.
Yeah, but who listens to them in English? No, that they need to be taken down a peg. Because they're rather horrifying people in general. So I'm glad we're on the same page, that they may not be the highest category of evil, because I think that would be elevating the Finns too much, right? But they are some level of terrible that needs to be managed. So that's good. Okay, so you decide to go on the side of Gamergate because, or I don't know, are you really? I don't want to unfairly put you on quote unquote the side of Gamergate. I don't know if that's like a thing, right? Because there were the people who were I don't know that it's binary. I think it's fluid, right? you get to make your own identity. But I don't know. How do you describe it? Are you on the side of Gamergate? Is that a real thing, or is it just like kind of like you said? I like spicy jokes. The fact that people made spicy jokes and are now being removed from the world it bothers me, and that kind of coincides with this idea of oddly ethics in games journalism, which just didn't exist. So where do you fall on that? Like, I don't want to mislabel you.
The thing is, for me, I wasn't a direct part of gamergate. That again was a little bit before I really started doing stuff. I just caught like the tail end of it, basically. And I mean, we can see what happened to everyone after gamergate. It was hardly a cohesive movement once the main thing kind of started falling off.
Right.
But I am vehemently against the idea of cancel culture or censorship because I see where this leads. Like, I am a massive fan of history. And frankly, I've seen this movie before.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
almost
want to spoil the ending, but
it's almost like there have been people who have decided the correct line of thought that other people should have and then tried to impose it, and they for some reason always end up using force.
It's weird, huh? And right now it is easier than ever to use force because you don't actually have to go out and beat somebody up. You just unplug their internet cable essentially and, well, voila, he's gone.
Right. Yeah, that's the new way. The old way was you burn the books and then you put them in jail and don't let the press report on who was in jail. But now you don't have to jail anyone. And I found this most interesting with guys like with what they've tried to do to Alex Jones, with what I think they may eventually do to Donald Trump in the same way. Is it, they could try and go after these guys. They could try and really like silence them. But the more effort they put into publicly condemning them, kind of the more popular they become. They actually increase their exposure and power. Whereas the nastiest thing they could do to any of them is just pull the plug on their internet, right? Like just get, if they could get Comcast or whoever to shut off Alex Jones and just not give him internet, I mean, that'd be the end of it. And I think that's ultimately their goal with some people. So, they've attacked people's access to the banking systems. That's a new thing. That's one of the crazy things I've seen over the past couple of years here is like the new thing is like, oh, we just freeze their accounts because they say things that quote unquote the bank doesn't like. And I'm like, since when does a bank care? Like they take drug dealer money, they take murderer money, but it's like, well, not wrong thing though. That one we got to tamp down.
Well, it's the next step in line. It's the next logical step because we have allowed the boundaries between private business and like practically the government to grow blurred. Like Facebook does not have the right to just randomly remove someone in clear consort with all of the other major tech companies, but that is a right they have given themselves, and we don't have any legislation to stop it. And PayPal is a bank by all reasonable standards. They are a bank, and yet they operate by none of the rules of a bank. Like they even give out loans. Did you know that? And yet it is in their terms of service that they can just take your money. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, they give out loans. They give out debit cards. They hold money for indefinite periods of time. They have they do currency exchange between countries with basically no checking on it. I mean, other than sort of you have to affirm the transaction or whatever, but it's like if it's lower than $10,000, they don't really care. Like they just PayPal is definitely a bank, and it's amazing that they can operate sort of outside of that structure. But they've built something that I feel like courts are not prepared to catch up on, and no one's too keen to get them to define it at this point because it's doing what those in charge like. It's comporting with their view of reality.
Like it's a fantastic tool, and the thing that's kind of saving us is that nobody really quite knows how to use this yet. Germany is a fantastic example of this because on the one hand, they're trying to force Facebook, Twitter, etc., to give out the personal information of all users in Germany so that they can, if they commit hate speech, kick down their doors. Yet on the other hand, they're also suing Facebook for wrongfully terminating accounts. All right, Germany.
Yeah, only we get to do that, not you. Oh my God. Yeah, it's this weird it's this weird confluence of disasters. Like you, I'm a huge fan of free speech, liberty. I like racist jokes. I like not racist jokes. I like sexist jokes. I like not sexist jokes. I like jokes that make fun of me. I like jokes that make fun of everybody. I particularly like jokes that make other people really mad, like because it seems absurd to me to get super angry at a joke. Right? You either find the joke funny or you don't. But the people who get like a huge reaction to it, it's like, what do you care? Like what? For example, one that I find that works particularly well on Twitter are fat jokes, right? Oh my God, you call a woman fat on Twitter and you will have like a bunch of weirdo guys like who have never heard of or met you or the woman, like defending her valor. It's like, what? You don't know anybody involved in this, and it's a joke. But no, so I'm a huge fan of that. But that's been my concern over the past couple of years, and one of the many themes that have really, like, I've tried to instill through the channel. But it's weird because I find when you just do like a talk about liberty, freedom, free speech, something like that as a video, it doesn't actually go anywhere. Which I don't know if that's a coincidence or not, but that's been my experience. You have to like slide it into some other theme to get it to move along.
I absolutely think so as well. That's why I eventually, after the whole copyright strike of Warhammer thing, I finally decided to make my second channel where I can do mostly commentary. Because honestly, the only way we can attack this is by having it be a part of pop culture, because you can demonstrate it. We can demonstrate that there is censorship. We can demonstrate that there is an agenda here with, for example, recently He-Man, which is
it's
quite
great.
An interesting show.
It's a colossal achievement for Kevin Smith. I'm so proud of him. He has made everybody happy and done the right thing with He-Man.
Absolutely. And through that, you can point a spotlight at it and go, right, we know why this happened. We can show you why this happens. And if you don't want it to happen to other settings that you enjoy, you have to do something about it. You have to make the argument. You have to be like, no. We're not going to have inclusivity in our setting. Thank you very much. We'll just keep the door open to everyone. We won't force anyone in, and we won't force anyone out.
Right, because that's what they do. They force people in and out. You will be in the group, and they make you join the group. And then when you don't comport with the group that you never wanted to be in the first place, then they kick you out of the group.
Yes.
But then they kick you out of every group. That's for your sins. Say, I've got a question from the chat here. Hungry Ewok says, Arch, did you read the quotes from Starship Troopers for Sargon's Politics of Starship Troopers video? I
did some of them, yes. Sargon boomered my audio, however. Bad, Sargon.
That he would, right?
He would. And he did.
So, okay. So let's talk about the copyright incident, because it's kind, like I said, to me, it was kind of the precursor. Once I saw what Games Workshop was doing recently, I was like, they did this to Arch in a little bit of a different capacity. So you used to be called Arch Warhammer, and because that was kind of on brand for the videos you were talking about. And then all of a sudden, Games Workshop, they hit you with a cease and desist and say, we have a trademark on Warhammers?
They did. And the worst part is, I know why they did it too. That's the thing. Because I actually have screen grabs of people on Sig Marxism, which, as the name suggests, is fairly left-wing Reddit, bragging about contacting Games Workshop legal team and basically forcing them to do this.
Like, who is contacting their legal team to do this? Like, what kind of people are doing it? Just randos, or are they important in some way?
No, it is what I would suspect to be a fairly organized effort by essentially randos. Like, there were apparently a lot of emails sent to this effect, and finally, one of them had an effect. What I found weird too was, I got the email, and it was a straight up, like, no negotiation, just like, we're going to sue you, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And I got a contact email, which I then sent an email back to, and so I was like, okay, right, I'll comply with this for the time being. Can you send me the rest of the legislation? Like, because you claim to have this trademark, right? Okay, I want to see it. Never got a response back. Never got a response back that they dropped the claim from YouTube's side. I never heard a damn thing from it. Now, it might simply just be incredibly unprofessional, or my personal little pet theory is that this may also have been a rogue employee who pressed the button too soon, so to say.
On the threats to sue, or on the dropping of the issue with YouTube?
I don't know, honestly. Like, it came out of nowhere, and seeing as I have screen grabs of people bragging about contacting GW's legal team and apparently getting this done, I am wondering if it wasn't like a friend or something that they knew there that they contacted for this. Like, it's impossible to know. It's pure speculation.
Yeah, I was just curious if you thought, because you said you weren't sure if it was a rogue employee who pushed the button too early. If you thought that button pushing was on the side of them sending the cease and desist and that letter, or was on the side of them removing their claim on YouTube, because
sending it to begin with.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I was just confused in how that came out. Okay, so yeah, so there's pressure building, but see, here's what I'm not getting. That and this is true for basically every cancellation I can think of, is why do these companies listen to just a group of random people? Because it seems to me that if you can get 50 people to send an email, that's a lot of emails, right? Like it doesn't take that many for someone to get a ton, what they would consider a lot of emails on the same subject. So suddenly Games Workshop Legal has 50 emails in their inbox that all say Arch Warhammer is the Satan, and you need to protect us from him because he's tainting your brand or something. And then they go, oh man, this is really important. But it's like 50 people, it isn't actually a lot. So what gives them, what do you think gives these companies the sort of idea that they need to respond to these requests?
Oh, that's a complicated question, isn't it? But I think in this case, I think you are partially correct, like in hindsight of 2020, as always, that this may have been a test to see if there would be any large-scale pushback, which didn't happen, of course. Because I don't think they did this just because they got emails. That seems unlikely, potentially. But it's also the idea that companies feel like they need to do something. You know, they need to be the right kind of company, a good company. Though I lean more towards the test theory here because they decided to launch an absolute barrage of not cease and desist, but threats of cease and desist recently now with the fan animators, etc. Like, right. That seems to me that something's been in the work for a while, because that's a very large move to just kind of just come up with out of nowhere. Like, yes, we're going to send threatening letters to like 100 people.
Yeah, so let's kind of clarify that. So Warhammer has, or Games Workshop has, a product coming out called Warhammer Plus.
Yes.
And I was kind of excited for it. You know, I've wanted them to make good Warhammer content forever. Like you said, Total War is like, you've got a high profile company taking up the Games Workshop IP that you love, and then you know that Creative Assembly is going to make a decent product out of it. You don't know if it's going to be great. You don't know, but you know it's going to be probably competent.
Functional.
And of course, right. And it turns out great. And it's the first sort of great thing to come out since Dawn of War 1. And some people I like Dawn of War 2. I know some people didn't like it as much. But
Dawn of War 2 was great. Just to make that absolutely clear.
Okay, good. We're on the same page there. Like I enjoyed the shit out of it, but between there's like I guess Space Marine was cool. I don't know where that falls in that timeline, but there's so much potential in the universe, and there's so little games coming out as game technology is getting more and more robust. It seems like Games Workshop was falling behind. So then you've got them where they do the thing that I think may have saved the company. And that's where they started licensing Warhammer and 40K to everybody. And it's like they threw 1 million darts at the dartboard, and they're like, we know some of these are going to hit, and some of them are going to hit big if the right people pick it up. And so then they do start to pick it up. You've got the Space Marine comes out. You've got Total War, which is really, I liked Total War quite a bit, and Total War 2. And so those things happen. And so then Games Workshop is expanding out. And so I've been wanting, them to do content, because I buy all of it. I'm such a simp. I bought like the Ultramarine movie special edition. Do you remember that garbage? Did you see that?
I even defended that back in the day. So I was like, oh, it's a start, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm like, well, there's like one scene that's cool in it, and that was cool. Like when he's running and chopping everybody down, I was like,
yeah, it's like, yeah, I mean, all the Space Marines look like old men. Granted, the animations are horrible and stiff, the detail work is dreadful, and the story is backwards, but it's something. It's a beginning. Oh, did my internet just reset? No? What happened now? Oh. Oh. All right. Well, I'm still here, if you can hear me. I don't know. Oh, let's see. Hello, chat. Can you hear me? Art stream now? Hello, Arch? Is the Art show? Yes, I think you can hear me. All right. Well, Art stream now. Good. How many people would want me to say the N-word? No, that'd be cruel. Suddenly, Rakita comes back. What's my channel gone? Well, things happen. What can I say? Tell us about the law. There is only one law, and that is the law of the most brutishly violent. That is a lesson I learned from Starship Troopers. Force is the ultimate authority. And in this case, the ultimate authority is unplugging Rakita's computer. Presumably. Well, I am sure he will return eventually. Possibly. Maybe. He was 10 minutes late too. That wasn't me. I have no responsibility for the lateness whatsoever. I wanted to clarify that. Meanwhile, here I'm sitting. What can we do to drag this out? What interesting things? See, I wish I could poke around in the back end. That'd be lovely. Is early and straight. That is incorrect, chat. If at least if I could look at the super chats. Arch is so powerful he took control of the entire stream. Correct. Self-evidently correct by the simple fact that I am the only one here. Steal Nick super chats. Also hi, Arch. Unfortunately, I don't think him crashing gives me access to the super chats account, which is tragic and something that Susan probably should look into. I mean, if I am the only one here, what is the logical reason for why I should not be in charge of receiving the money as well? Then again, I guess I could just shill my own channel. Yes, go to my channel. We stream on the weekends. Give me money there instead. Much better. Much more useful. I was pretty sure it was my internet too, because my internet crashes constantly. All the time. Without stop. Because I live in Norway. And mooses literally eat the wires occasionally. No shit, that actually has happened. Ah, the Futa question. Balls or no balls? No balls, obviously. Futa with balls is gay. I mean, that's not even a question. Like, if it has balls and it produces semen, it's a man? I mean, what are you? Some kind of queer homosexuals? Holy shit. No. Christ. I mean, now I start doubting the sanity of the chat here as well. Futa with balls. There are actually people in chat arguing for Futa with balls. Okay, I want you to know that each and every one of you is a closet homosexual. You may not have admitted it to yourself, but that's what you are. And there's no shame in that. That's a little bit. But it's okay. It's okay. I accept you just the way you are, despite your sausage-indulging ways. In fact, I might accept you because of your sausage-indulging ways in some ways. Yeah. What was it? Was that Eddie Murphy? No, that was someone. Was that Martin Payne? Anyone who's willing to suck my dick is a good person. You can't really disagree with that, can you? There's a certain inescapable logic inherent within the very suggestion. Mass dislike. Like, mass dislike the stream because Ash doesn't like futas with balls. You are aware this is not going to affect me. Sky News is back on YouTube. Well, they should never have been removed in the first place. Like, that shows how brazen they are too. It's like, oh, Sky News, mainstream media branch, but misinformation for COVID. Ah, yes. That's plenty good enough reason to remove them, right? I don't know about that. God, there's a frightening quantity of people in this chat that seems to be pro-balls futa. Like, what kind of an audience has Rakita nurtured here? Holy hell. You're all diseased. All of you. See, I'll play some World of Warships. You can't see anything, but believe me, this is a gameplay stream now. It's fine. Not going to see my camera either. See, Rakita asked me about this too. Will you just be an icon? Or will you have a camera? I'm like, yeah, I have a camera, but I have a 500 kilobytes upload stream, so you're not going to be seeing any of it. See, at least some of you understand that no balls is the correct and only choice. Not all of you are diseased. This is good. Too many of you. Like, you've got to police your own. Very important. You can't do it, who will? Because this is now Archer's stream, he has to drink if we get 1,000 likes. Holy shit. See, I'm trying to hold the fort here, but I guess Rakita just got struck by bloody lightning or something. See, I don't drink at all. I am a complete abolitionist of alcohol. It's for the weak. That is true. I like to put on a saintly demeanor over it. What? Susan thinks I'm a Muslim. I believe I am a Muslim in this room. I do eat pork and I don't worship the dude in the sky, but it'll control. It'll protect me from cancellation, which is a very useful aspect. Do you know the Muffin Man? Cocaine. Drink the milk. Right. Tomboys or femboys? Tomboys, obviously. Again, a lot of you like penis, and there is something wrong with that. At least something a little bit wrong with it. You have to admit it. It's biologically incorrect. Do you like furries? Oh, good. The furries have arrived. I suppose that was only a question of time. Well, you need to specify, do I like furries as in the actual furries, or do you like furries as in the people who are furries? Because there's a significant difference in the two. In fact, one of my friends is a furry, Kyle. Open furry as well. Like, hard furry. I just want to point that out too. Like, literal fursuit owning furry, okay? Deep in the furry closet. And, I can't disavow him completely, but as for the actual furrydom, you know why? Because they draw awful hentai. That's why. My primary dislike qualification is because the art is awful. Oh, this stream has wandered somewhat off topic. Suffer not the furry. Ah, yes, the more hardlined approach. Good. Gas. Also, I see that you're tagging with @arch, but it's subscriber only chat, I'm afraid. So even if you tag me, I can't actually see it. So you're just as well off just literally writing arch. V fursuit confirmed. Yes, V. No, V was it? He was into vor, wasn't it? I don't think that was the furry. That was vor. Which, that's a fascinating fetish too. Like, I would like to be eaten. Huh. Very well then. I'm a very accepting person, and I don't judge. Except when I do. Jesus. Well, if this was supposed to be a legal stream, has you've well and truly gotten away from that at this point. Kick B. News of CWC. I have no idea what that is. The cannibal fetish. Oh, okay. Do you got a YouTube channel? I got 2, in fact. Well, technically 3, but I don't use the third one. Or the second one, technically. Yeah, same. Rakito was assassinated. Could believe it. I mean, how long it's been now? Like 10, 15 minutes? I'm trying to hold the fun. Oh, Chris Chan. Yes, right. So, unfortunately, he is not being sent to a female prison, as I understand it. The bigoted, intolerant state that he is in. We're like, oh, you're a female, and we'll accept that, but we're going to send you to a male prison. That's twisted, isn't it? Like, come on. They're okay, you are female, but we're going to send you to the male slammer. I see some problems here. And I see absolutely no problems, by the way, with Chris Chan going to a female prison. In fact, I view that as a proactive measure of doing something truly Chad, okay? That is Chris Chan thinking to himself, how can I build a harem? Oh.
Hey, am I back?
Yes.
Oh my God. My internet decided to go out. So I'm on cell phone service in the middle of literally nowhere. So we'll have to see how this goes. Actually, this is truly part of my plan, was to get you to do the stream alone. Because that's
I held the fort for 15 minutes. We discussed futas and balls and Christian.
Why does my chat hate me so? Why did they do this?
Wow, that's a good question,
okay.
isn't it?
Yeah. So I'll have to see how this goes, I guess. We'll probably not have to dally too long in this, I guess, because I don't know how well this internet connection is going to hold out. But I hear that I'm like in really, maybe I should turn off my camera. Maybe I should.
You are
which is
tiny bit laggy, but not like super bad.
This is going to be bad. This will be terrible. If I try and mess with this, it's going to be awful. Okay, we'll try it for a little bit. So I don't know how I'm going to get the super chat. I see a couple. So you addressed the Lorgar Aurelian question then. On Lorgar.
Oh, there were many, many questions and super chats regarding balls or no balls, I think.
Yeah, it's like when Dad leaves, the chat gets degenerate, I guess. So I apologize. Turn off the video. I don't know if I can just do that on the phone. No, because it'll stop both mic and camera. We're gonna leave it like this. Okay, so we were talking at the stage where Games Workshop is creating Games Workshop Plus, and that was my precursor to. So they went out and they hired a bunch of fan creators, right? Like the guy who made Astartes, which was really cool and really well done. They hired him. They hired some other animators as well. And then everybody else who was creating like these fan animation projects, they all got cease and desists. And I got the impression that even like text to speech got one, or if they didn't, they felt like one was coming.
Well, to clarify a little bit here, for what I've managed to gather as I've followed this fairly closely, the others did not receive actual legal cease and desists, it appears. But they all received, it would be a shame if something were to happen to you, emails. Basically outlining, because there was one that did a fan animation of a book, The Last Church. And they basically outlined it in their comment section, saying that they received an email and it was like, oh, hey, we love what you did here. It's great and all, but did you know this is copyright and we could sue the shit out of you? So take it down, basically. And so they did.
This to me is like the absolute dumbest move they can make. And I was trying to brilliantly set this up before my internet decided to go Games Workshop and point out that the thing that basically saved the company was them spreading Warhammer lore and IP basically all over the place. They let everybody have, I mean, hell, there was, because I was buying like every Warhammer project for a while that was out on Steam before it became like I would literally be in poverty trying. But like there was a MOBA game that ended up being garbage. I mean, they were licensing it to literally anybody who wanted it. There are mobile games that are of varying degrees of quality, and it built the company. And so then you've got these guys who are doing all the work for free and really not making, I mean, I assume they made some good money on their projects, but it was consummate with the work they were putting into them that they were putting in.
At the end of the day, that is not a problem for Games Workshop. Like, say that somebody's earning money off their Patreon. So what? That's not money you're going to get regardless, GW. Like, that's just crowdsourcing.
Right.
That's not a problem. And of course, they should be able to earn some money off it. Astartes was incredibly high quality. Like, everybody wins by having him be able to do more animations.
Right. And I mean, they smartly, and I imagine they paid him handsomely to come on board. Because he was doing well on Patreon and stuff like that. So they had to outdo what he's earning, and then say, you know, we're gonna give you access to, you know, a bunch of creative teams to help build this out even more. But I like, to me, the whole thing is, well, yeah, these guys are making money on Patreon, but they're taking that money, they're buying your product, and then exposing more and more people to that product and getting them to then go buy stuff. I mean, I kept buying Warhammer products because of the fan creator community making me more and more interested in stuff. And reaching out to different areas. And
the thing is, too, like, the second part here is they sent out all of these threatening letters, basically, to the animators, but then they went one step further. Because, as you probably played Total War Warhammer, there was a bunch of mods for the game. Every single modder on Total War Warhammer 1 and 2 have received far less kind letters. They haven't been asked like, hey, would you like to come and work for us? Or this is cool shit. They have simply received a notice that if they don't take down everything that has to do with Patreon, crowdfunding, or reward links of their sites, they will have their mods deleted outright.
Okay, so this is on, so help me out here. So they create a mod, and then on the mod like splash page, because Total War has its own like shelf and its own mod store. And so on there, so if I go buy like the God Emperor of Man or like Sigmar character mod or whatever, that guy will have like a splash page describing the mod, and in it he'll put like a Patreon link or something like that. And that's what they went after?
The mod specifically for Total War Warhammer the game, the Creative Assembly game.
That's insane.
It is. It's absurd. Like, not only does it hurt your reputation even further, but I'm pretty... Because the other confusing thing, too, is Creative Assembly apparently put out statements saying that their rules about modding haven't changed. And they're monitoring the situation closely. So we don't know if this is something they discussed with Creative Assembly, or if GW simply just went like, nah, we're striking everything now.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, again, this is the thing. I thought only lawyers were this stupid. And well, of course, Games Workshop's lawyers are probably running a lot of this, but I would assume it goes higher up than them. But the fact that people don't understand that this fan creation community is nothing but boon. It only helps. Having a robust mod community is what's kept some games kicking for 10, 20, 30, 20 years, specifically allowing people to mod the hell out of them without need for a license agreement or anything. The license agreement is simply, you can't hack into our systems and do something that would compromise the game itself. But other than that, I mean, go to town.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, I have my own conspiracy theory as to why they're doing this. I think they are entirely aware of what they're doing. I think they know, and that this is a plan for them where they want to create a walled garden. They want to force you to get on Warhammer Plus. They want to force you to start consuming their animations. And they want to move away from tabletop setting, because they know 3D printing technology is getting better and better every year. Digital products are getting better and better every year. And their competitors too, Mantic's Game, Privateer Press, are also getting better and better. I think that the boardroom meeting of GW basically said, we are going to milk the shit out of this, no holds barred, for 5 to 10 years, and then we are going to transition entirely over to selling our universe. Toys, animations, movies, cartoon TV shows, game licenses, etc. And I think they're also doing this to kind of wink and a nod to larger companies, the Hasbros and the Disneys of the world, by saying, hey, look, we are earning so much money right now because there's no alternative. Warhammer Plus subscriptions are skyrocketing because there are no alternative. So that they can go to them and say, hey, look at how much we're worth. And right. I think they want to just cash out. Because you're entirely right. Like, they know how much of a boon this is. There's no negativity at all about having fan animations. It's fantastic. It's so much free advertisement. And the only way you would actually not want that is if they have a 5-year plan, not a 10 or 20-year plan.
Right. Because, the idea that you can try and sell out and get brought in like a Marvel or a DC. But I think they're way overshooting the I guess the depth or the breadth of their IP. Because Marvel and DC are rooted pretty firmly into sort of the history of nerd culture. Games Workshop has never been that accessible. I mean, there's a big difference between buying $2 comic books back in, 1995 to buying a $600 army in 1995. It's always been cost prohibitive. And I think that's protected the Warhammer community in a lot of ways. Because like we were talking about earlier, when there was those initial Warhammer is for everyone, but posts, there was a big, there's a big rebuttal from people, and they're like, hey man, I spent $1,500 on my most recent army. Then you're going to tell me Warhammer isn't for me? Why am I buying your expensive minis? There are other tabletop settings that I could play here. But I like yours, but if you tell me you hate me, I'm going to leave. And so, so if it's, in my opinion, it's protected them from a lot of the sort of big cultural shifts we've seen. But at the same time, if they're overselling like how popular Warhammer is, I mean, it's popular, but we're not talking Avengers here.
At the very least, not yet. And I think that's kind of what they think they're heading for, particularly with the Warhammer Plus thing. I think they have seen the success of things like Astartes, and being old boomers, they're like, oh, we can have this on our subscription platform that we gate off to only a tiny portion of the community. Like, because imagine if they could have 1 million subscribers, they would be rolling in money. But frankly, they'll be lucky if they get a few thousand.
Yeah, I mean, it's Warhammer's big-ish, but like they just need to do some market research. Who's the biggest Warhammer channel? Is it Lutein?
It was Alpha Busa, I believe. And then it's Luton, and then I think it's me. Like, I haven't been checking out on the sizes for a while, honestly, since I moved over to my commentary channel.
Right, but we're talking like what? I don't know how many Alpha Busa has, but Lutein's like under 500,000, and these are free subscriptions. This is just clicking a button on YouTube, and I mean, if they're thinking that they're going to be like a Disney Plus and pull in 25 million subscribers, I mean, they've got a really rude awakening coming.
They do, and that's also why I think the next step they're going to do is also just start handing out free subscriptions. This is the next step. They're going to try and bring up the numbers again so that they can big themselves up. I really think this is basically a bluff, to put it like that, where they're going to be like, okay, we're going to look as big and as powerful as we can. And they have had amazing growth during COVID. So they're hoping for a buyout. And remember, too, they recently got a executive from Hasbro. And at that level of executives, people don't switch companies without a fair bit of backroom dealing first. I think there's some bigger plans in the work.
Oh, man, I don't know about the success of those big plans. Like,
I hope they collapse and burn.
I love me some Warhammer, but the fact that, so, like I said, I buy all the books, like every collector's edition book that comes out, I buy it. But there's a reason they're limited to 2,500 copies. And some of them they limit to 750 or 1,500. And then like an Eisenhorn release is going to get 3,000 to 5,000 copies. They know they can't sell that many.
Yes.
I mean, they're not selling 20,000 copies of each of these books that they release. And so I think they're way overshooting here.
I hope so, because ideally I want this to be a absolute collapse of Games Workshop. I want them to come crawling back, basically.
Yeah, do you think they will? I mean, what's the path you see that happening? They release Games Workshop Plus, it's an utter failure, right? Like, so they get less than 100,000 subscribers to sign on to it, and then they go, this is a colossal mistake. And so then how do they come back to
out? for a fairly long time. I think they have counted with Warhammer Plus being a loss leader for at least a year, probably 2 or 3. Because the thing is, right now, there's nothing on it. They're selling YouTube content. They're selling painting tutorials and battle reports and lore videos that are basically just commercials. Like, hey, buy this model. Nobody wants to watch that. Like, their YouTube channel, the only place to find official news, had, I think, a few, what was it, 500,000 subs, I think? I don't
even
remember.
know they
Warhammer
have it.
TV. Yeah, that's the thing. Most people don't even know they have it. And they get pathetic views because it's not interesting. The only thing they can really sell is the animations that they have now cornered into their walled off market. But with the amount of people pissed off at them, I'm going to do a video probably next week where I'm basically going to say, if you want to do a boycott Warhammer Plus. That is what's going to hurt them because they want that to be a success. And I think that they believe it'll be incredible.
Yeah, I think they do too. And here I am. I'm still waiting for the Eisenhorn Amazon show. Where the hell's that?
No news now for a solid year, and I've kind of been waiting for that too.
Because, yeah, it's done by the guy who did Man in the High Castle, or it's supposed to be. And so I'm thinking, because I think, well, it's where I started, so I'm biased, but I think the Eisenhorn story is the way to introduce people into the universe. I think, like, you know, just go ahead and start with Xenos and start working your way through Eisenhorn and then Ravenor and Beckwin, and you get into all avenues of Warhammer that way. It's such a and Abnett does it so competently. It's like it's nice, perfect platform to get people in. I can't believe that they're dropping the ball on that show on Amazon. It's like you have, I mean, maybe Amazon's like, no, but we're doing Lord of the Rings or whatever. But to me, like this is the way to get people into the universe. But it seems like they've shifted gears entirely away from it.
We have no idea what they're doing right now. There's only been like half-formed rumors. Like I heard that Becca Kinska was to be played by a black actor, which would certainly strike me as par for the core. I don't know. Nobody really knows what they're doing. But hey, on the bright side, I am in a position where I can't lose, right? If it's good, fantastic. If it's awful, YouTube videos.
Right.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Right. I kind of feel like I have a ton of Warhammer lore stuff. No. Oh, man. My connection. My connection is paining me. It's paining me. Here, I got a super chat here from, guys, I'm on my phone and I don't have access to the backlog of super chats. I'll probably have to do like a supplemental video to this interview to make up for all of them. Stormcrow 900 says, good God, man, not Hasbro. So assuming this crashes and burns, what are the chances of Ty and Associates of acquiring the IP? At the very least, it'd be funny. It'd be funny, but man, Games Workshop was on the ropes. They were on the ropes in the early 2000s, through the mid 2000s, I think. And then they started to make a recovery. And I don't know. I don't think that it's going to be reasonably purchasable anytime soon. But what do you think about that? Like the value of the company? Because I know for a while, I knew some people who were putting together a proposal to buy Games Workshop based on assuming the massive amount of debt that they had. And this is when they had Games Workshop retail stores all over the U.S. that were just failing, and I think they ended up shuttering a bunch of those. But yeah, do you see it as being something someone could move in on other than like a Hasbro?
Not now. Right now, Games Workshop is doing fantastically well. They are selling like crazy. Their sales are up massively. And they have so much, or well, they had so much positive buzz behind them. All of the big boys were sniffing at them. They got a collaboration with Marvel for comics. They got a executive from Hasbro. Like, they are riding the wave right now. Whether that wave will continue, well, if in 3 years' time Warhammer Plus has been absolutely rendered a deadweight disaster by the fandom's outrage, and COVID passes, their tabletop fan base hates them more and more, and their competitors are actually starting to become proper competitors again, and they haven't been bought out by a major company, then I think all of that ill will may very well come back to bite them in the ass, at which point, who knows? But it's still going to be a question of a lot of money. Like, I don't know about you, but I don't have several millions to spend.
Not yet. I just need that one YouTube video to go viral, though, and then I will. No, it's I think that's the trick. At the time, the people that I knew that were looking at buying it, I mean, it was basically like, we'll assume your debt and you guys can get out from under it, was the bulk of the proposal. But that was before the Horus Heresy, and I think the Horus Heresy and how well that the initial books in that series did really, I think it really kicked out. And it was part of the overall push. Get the IP out there. Let people know this universe exists that they're all going to like. And that was very successful. And it's still just baffling to me going back and thinking, this is what saved your company. And now you're doing the opposite. You're contracting back in.
Yeah, because one of the reasons why they were getting a lot of flack and why Privateer Press at the time was doing very well, which is one of their competitors, was because they were being overly litigious. Like, they were taking down fan video game projects, and they'd also stricken a fan movie, which was a live-action movie, which they had originally endorsed, and then once it was done filming, then they hit it with a cease and desist.
Oh, my God.
And now they're doing it again. Like, I don't know. Like, people have the memory of goldfish, is all I'll say.
Yeah, well, I didn't even know about that. What fan film was it? Do you remember?
Oh, I don't remember the name. It was a German fan film where they were going live action, and I believe it was even leaked afterwards by a crew member who was just like, no, screw this shit. But GW had, in a roundabout way, kind of said like, oh yeah, this is awesome. And then they sent cease and desists afterwards.
Yeah, it's almost like they're taking the Microsoft approach, but like taking it too far. Because Microsoft has been doing this stuff in similar ways, but of course, Games Workshop isn't a Microsoft. But they did they've purchased some teams and they've been acquiring studios and stuff like that in regards to some of the games. But they also, they went after the Halo modding community on it's like that multiplayer Halo game. I can't even remember what it was. And it was like, why don't you just hire them? Like, you're hiring everybody else, just hire them. Like, they're already doing the thing. So it's like Workshop did that. They did pick up a couple creators, but then they're going way too far and axing everybody.
That was the thing. When the news first came out that they'd picked up Astartes, my first reaction was like, oh, great, they're finally doing what the fandom has always urged. But immediately, some alarm bells were ringing like, hold on. Why the hell are they listening to us? They've never done this before. Yeah. And yet now, suddenly? Okay, what's the ulterior motive here? And it didn't take long before, of course, it was revealed that they had sent these offers to other creators as well, and that they had couched them in very challenging language. And at that point, I pretty much knew. And here's the thing, too. If Astartes is allowed to create whatever he wants, I'm sure it'll be fantastic. But if Games Workshop has actually created a walled garden where they have an absolute monopoly, what are the odds they'll just let him do whatever? Like, I am 100% sure that they are going to come to him with their focus groups and say, like, yeah, but you see, we're releasing this new line of things now. So can't you do something with that instead? And what is he going to say? Like, no, I want to do this. Like, yeah, but we are your bosses. But yeah, I think it's going to ruin it.
They'll be like, yeah, we know you're doing your little thing with your cool little chapter that you made, and we're going to do a kill team squad for them eventually, but on this latest animation, we're going to need you to change the color scheme and just call it something else and make them talk. Just do that.
I
because
just don't
we've got a new Blood
that
Angels
GW will be entirely hands off. I don't buy it. They are controlling little bastards.
Well, that is one thing that has been, in a way, kind of to their credit, with the licensing of all the IP to Dawn of War and Total War and all of that. They did maintain some pretty fierce control over the lore, right? Like they didn't let people go crazy. They let them take some license to move things into video game mechanics. And but I'm pretty sure, like, even with Dawn of War 1, the Games Workshop had a heavy hand in helping them develop the Blood Ravens lore and backstory to sort of comport with the universe itself. Like they, in exchange for giving people very inexpensive access to the IP, they fiercely controlled it. And in a lot of ways, I think that was good. But again, if you let it go too far, it's like, because game 40K at least is like meant for you to be able to create any sort of successor chapter you want and play it however you want on the tabletop. Like they'll give you the generic rules so that you can do that. And so then to take that out of the creative side on the fan projects, it seems very short-sighted. And again, it's like they don't realize what has made them popular and successful.
Yeah, it is. Which is, again, why I'm kind of like, they can't be that stupid. Like, I really do think this is a calculated effort on their behalf, because it seems too dumb. It seems so stupid to be like, hey, lots of free advertisement, better sales than ever. Let's kill it.
Yeah. But yeah, if they are planning a sale to Hasbro, though, then they know that suddenly there's going to be little Space Marine figures in every Target and Walmart across the planet, and they go, "That's money." That's,
oh god, yes. And
that's terrifying to me, because like I have the Bandai, the big the Bandai models. I've got the Ultra Smurf and the the Imperial Fist and the White Scar, and I ordered the Salamander. I think that's the order or whatever. But like, I don't actually want a bunch of Games Workshop toys. I bought these because they're kind of collector and they're cool, but I don't want that, and I don't know that other people do either. Like, they buy the minis not because they're toys, but because they're part of the game. And so, of course, I am overlooking the fact that Hasbro has an entire gaming division, and they do have some Warhammer board games. Oh hell, check this out! Just happened to be in the right room for this. Have you seen this thing?
Interpreting the pixels.
Oh yeah, you can't see it, can you? Anyway, this is a board game that you can buy at Target called Space Marine Adventures, and it comes with a tile set, and it comes with some little minis that you snap together and paint. And it's a 4-player co-op game. It takes about 30 minutes to play. So like, that's, if they're thinking, oh man, if we can get into Hasbro's game arm and they put us in every major retailer, then they no longer are selling, these $1,500 armies, but rather they're selling these box sets of really cheap plastic armies, prefabbed for people. That's a lot of money before the 3D printing revolution comes in and wipes them out.
It is a lot. like it is a serious amount of bank to be made, but even more importantly is that if video games, if just giving out licenses to whomever comes along asking for one could catapult their IP to this level, imagine the amount of PR and potential new customers they could get if they partnered with Hasbro. Because then they could start working with Magic the Gathering. They could be on every shelf in every store across God only knows how many hundreds of nations.
They already have a Magic collab coming. Go get one.
Okay, I'll get one from here.
Okay. Little kid there. Okay, I've got some chats here. Marked Ashamed says, have you seen their latest quarterly report where apparently they reported record revenue? However, their employees are complaining that the bonus doesn't compare to a pay raise as their salaries are still quite low. I have not. Do you check up on their financials?
A little bit occasionally, but not like major. I do know that they pay their store employees diddly dick. Because, frankly, brick and mortar stores were outdated 10 years ago. Like, it's a loss leader for them right now, but they kind of got to keep them because, you know, it's their thing.
Yeah, it's which is weird because I like going into the brick and mortar stores to look for things to buy because I've been trying to learn how to paint the minis and stuff. But like their selection, no matter how much the store has, is just embarrassing. Like it's yes. Always that. It's like wall-to-wall boxes, and yet you go on a website and you find a million other things, and they never seem to have any of the cool units. Go ahead.
They're poorly stocked, and the worst part is back in the day, they used to have bits where you could order individual bits, like you could order Space Marine Helmet A, Space Marine Helmet B, etc. And they would actually have like boxes of these at the store, which was fantastic. So if you want to make a conversion, you just go like, I want that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one. None of that exists anymore. You can't even order the bits anymore because they figured it wasn't profitable enough, basically. And that's why they're trying to kill the stores as well, because not profitable enough.
Yeah. Big Red Bear says, this is just normal Games Workshop. The face never changes. They've been this way since the late 90s. Their new CEO is just smarter than Kirby. That doesn't mean he had a better approach. He just understood the market. That may be true. I think they're misunderstanding it now.
We'll see. Like, I feel like they wouldn't do this because, again, like the Hasbro executive and so on, there's too many little pieces that makes me think that this is a plan that they have come up with. But we'll see. Like, I think they have to bet on that big buyout, because if they don't, all they're doing is limiting their own advertisement whilst pissing the hell out of their own fans, which doesn't seem like a great idea.
Yeah, but like you said, if they get that exposure, if it works out right, then it's the gamble worth paying, because 1,000 people can fund a thing for a while and fund it really well. But if you can piss off those 1,000 people and score 1 million, you're gonna be, even if those 1,000 were funding it quite a bit, each one of them has to be putting in 1,000 to match $1 each from the 1 million. I mean,
yep.
The scaling of it is the potential for them.
And it also gives them the potential option to move on from the tabletop entirely. If it becomes popular enough, they could potentially live off that Warhammer Plus subscription. They could live off animations, collaborations, and they could do more like collector's miniatures and definitely tons more box set rules where they have like 4 or 5 models and a rule set and a little like plastic mat that they print out. Costs them nothing to produce, and they can sell it for a ridiculous margin.
Right, and the other thing that they can do if they do it right and do appropriate DRMing of it is they can have official CAD files when 3D printers come in and say, we've got these CAD files for this model of printer. They could even license their own Games Workshop printer that you can buy that'll guarantee the resolution that you need, and let people print their own models and actually just buy the digital files for them. And again, nothing to produce, no inventory to keep, no overhead. They could even reduce price on it, or reduce price per model, sort of, but sell them individually. So people are sitting here clicking and buying just tons of them at $2 a piece rather than a $15 set. And they could make quite a bit if they can scale up interest. And I think Kill Team is kind of a way for them to do that too. The way they've made it so you don't have to. They're already conditioning people. So no, you don't have to have $1,000 army. You don't have to have 4 hours of time. You can play a game in 30 minutes with your friend.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's messy. Boag says, Nick, remember to ask Arch which character that has the sharpest fangs does he like the best?
Fucking Boag.
What is this question?
Right. So Boag is a frequent viewer of mine, and he's picked up on a very forced meme. We're both big fans of manga, and there's one manga called Killing Bites where the author has tried very hard to make the one with the sharpest fangs wins into a catchphrase, and everybody hates it, and it's become a meme now because it's so bad. And so he keeps super chatting at me because he knows it hurts me.
The one with that's a terrible catchphrase. It's
awful.
I thought it was a Space Wolf joke.
No, it is from a manga where girls that are actually animals kill each other.
Okay.
It's very Japanese.
How degenerate is this manga? Be honest.
Well, it has a hyena girl that has a harem of girls that she frequently rapes. That degenerate.
So normal level of manga degenerate. Got it. Did you happen to watch Redo of the Healer?
I did. I read the manga for it previously as well. It was very edgy, but expected.
Do you like it? So I've heard from people, like, I know my buddy and I were just talking about this. We're like, if this had come out in 2005, like, it wouldn't have been a controversy because it would have just been an anime. But since it comes out now, it's like this kind of it's like mid-level degeneracy and kind of mediocre anime, but it just, they didn't care so much about the current social zeitgeist that it seems great because of that.
Redo of Healer at one point was the highest rated anime in history on certain anime websites because of the controversy, because people came out in numbers and said, no, we'll protect our weebery, thank you very much.
It was, I mean, it's one of the first anime series that I have watched not at gunpoint in forever.
And it wasn't very good either. Like, you're right, it's not a very good anime, but it's edgy as hell, and edgy's banned in the West right now. So, what are you gonna do?
Well, and there's problems with, like, the even with the gratuitousness of it. When me, a consummate degenerate, is saying, okay, like, this is a little much though. Like, you ham-fisted this nude scene in here for literally no reason. That was a couple of the episodes. I'm like, I'm all for gratuitous, but this is gratuitousness. It doesn't fit with the story. It doesn't fit with this episode. And they were still doing it. It's like they had a quota, like, we have to get a nude scene in every episode.
Yes, it is, again, because it was never very well written. Redo of Healer is basically a hentai manga with an attitude. That's about it. It's not very good. And the plot itself is... The Japanese have an entire genre surrounding this, which is basically revenge porn, practically.
Right. And
that's fun for a bit, but it kind of gets boring. It's like, okay, you've done a horrible thing now, and like, okay, plot, baby? Sorry? No? characters.
Yeah. Give me a reason to care about why because the entire plot of Redo is here's vengeance, and the vengeance is because I was wronged, and it's like, okay, but like that so that's the character's entire motivation. Like that's all of it. There's no transition.
That's his entire character arc.
And they covered that in like the first 3 episodes, and then it's just extending out that arc the entire way. But see, I kind of like it because of that too. Not saying it's great, but it's just enjoyable because of that and because of the giant FU that it is. But it's no Rape Man, you know. I mean, they've still got a lot of slack to pick up.
That's true. But it is also just enjoyable because we just don't get it anymore over here in the West. Like, it's banned. Even South Park and Simpsons have become mellow and uninteresting.
Yeah, same with Family Guy. It's like the first couple seasons of Family Guy are blowing they're blowing your mind. It's a whole new style of comedy. It's just hit after hit after hit, and they'll hit the same joke over and over. They're making fun of everybody. The jokes are like you're surprised. I mean, I remember my dad called me when I think it was Brian is talking on the phone, and Lois asks him something, and he says, hold on, I gotta go. Yeah, Lois is being a real catch you next Tuesday. And my dad's like, how did they get that by the censors? Like, how did that get through? Because it was so shocking to have that level of humor in a show at the time. And then now it's like, okay, you're not pushing any boundaries. You're not even funny anymore. It's like, okay, it all feels, all the comedy that is hitting mainstream just feels political rather than entertainment.
It's stale, it's boring, it's not edgy, and it's not doing anything to reinvent itself. And that's the problem with a lot of Western entertainment. It's why manga is outcompeting comics so heavily, because in manga, they're not attached to characters. Like, Batman is 80 years old. He has done everything. Whereas in manga, there's 1,000 different characters that do 1,000 different things. It's much fresher, simply.
Yeah, the West, it's like our production companies have become so risk averse that they're like, no, we have to tell an old story just in a new way. Like we just got to get this old character doing something new. It's like, but like what? Okay, you literally killed Superman and he came back. So what are you gonna do with that? We're gonna kill him again. we're gonna kill him and his spirit this time, and then he's gonna be resurrected on a new Krypton in an alternate timeline, and then he's gonna come and resurrect the old Superman. That's how we're gonna do it. It's like, what are you doing? The sad thing is the story I just described probably exists somewhere in the past 70 years of Superman. But yeah, they're so risk averse. And I was talking about this, I think, on Yellow Flash's show the other day, saying almost the exact same thing you're saying. The thing about manga that people like is they're willing to let a character go and tell a new story with a new character. And actually, I'll challenge it and say, I think, and this will probably piss the chat off, which is good. I think Eastern storytelling gets really stale really fast, and that it's they rely a lot on archetypes, and they rely a lot on sort of tropes to get through the story. But if the story's only 1 season or 3 seasons, you don't care so much that they do that, because it's okay. You're getting to know the character, and the tropes then become just a background that the character's involved in. And so as long as you're creating something new, we'll forgive people all day for being uncreative on the other aspects. I mean, we do it all the time.
Of course. As long as it's a good story and it eventually wraps up, fantastic. Like, okay, I've had a good experience. The recent Kimetsu no Yaiba, Demon Slayer, for example, huge success, and it ended. It wrapped up. It had an ending. It had a finish. All of the characters were lived their happily ever afters or died. It's done now, and you can move on to something else. That is how a battle manga should end, because eventually it does get boring, and it was getting boring too, and they had to pull more and more bullshit out of their ass to be like, oh, this is still interesting. Yeah, but is it? Like, wrap it up. It needs to end.
And that's the thing. It's like, you're creative. You created this world and this character. You can make another. I have faith in you. Trust me. Speaking of things they need to let die, Dragon Ball is high on the list.
Dragon Ball is one of Japan's few perpetuals. Like, it and One Piece are things that will just continue because people keep buying it.
Yeah, Dragon Ball is worth like it's approaching Star Wars value. Like that's how much it's worth. So I think Japan isn't going to let it go anytime soon. One Piece, I don't understand, man. Every time I see anything from One Piece, I'm like, God, it just looks like garbage to me.
One Piece is a meme. Like, One Piece is literally the recipe anime where they follow the guideline each and every one. They meet strong person, get their ass kicked, figure out that friendship is the answer all along, kick the ass of the bad guy, meet stronger bad guy, and so it goes.
Yeah, it's one of my writing professors back in college. She was from Mississippi, right? And she had a real thick Mississippi accent. And she's like, your character must fail and fail brilliantly, but then he must rise up and overcome valiantly. It's just like telling the hero's journey, but with a nasty Southern drawl. It was great. But that's One Piece. It's also Dragon Ball, right? Same thing happens. And it's like, the Dragon Ball. Okay, so the answer is Goku. Got it. Okay, perfect. Now let's get there in under 150 episodes this time.
Mm-hmm. It's the perpetual anime in a nutshell. Like, it is literally the hero's journey repeated ad nauseum, and people like it. I don't know why. I don't understand, but there we are.
Boag again says, power. But are we talking about like the Ratlings?
Oh,
the
Skaven? Yes, Skaven. I'm running a Skaven RP campaign, and my players are currently resisting Chaos Dwarf police violence.
Oh my God! So where do you do that on your? Do you do that on stream or?
Yes, I do that on the second channel, the Archcast.
The Archcast. Okay, yeah. So I'm not subscribed to that one. I need to check that one out. I didn't know you had a second channel. I still know you as Arch Warhammer. I'm terrible.
The second channel is my love child right now, because there I can do whatever the hell I want. Whereas on the first channel, it's too much Warhammer. It's too much Warhammer, and Warhammer is a sinking, blooding ship, so I do have some plans for other stuff, and I'll probably transition almost entirely at some point, because, let's be fair, it's probably only a question of time until a meanly worded email arrives in my inbox too.
Yeah, well, first, so two things. One, I want to note that it has been announced here that Arch is going to fully transition at some point, and that is very brave of whatever pronoun Arch lands on, and I fully respect it. But second, no, that was a question I had for you, as someone who's following this more closely and kind of more in tune with it. Is this thing going past fan creators? I mean, are they going to start, like, because to me, and again, I like these guys. These are not criticisms, but like a Border Prince and Wolflord Row, like they flat out, and I don't know if they're getting licenses for it, but they flat out read short stories and books on their shows. Like they're verbatim reading it, and I'm baffled at how they're getting away with that, so to speak. And that's why I wonder, like, are they getting permission? Maybe they are, but but yeah, are guys like them next? Are guys like you, 40K Theories, Major Kill, Lutein, are you guys on the chopping block? What do you think's coming?
Oh, we don't know, but I want to say I don't think so, because there's so little to gain from it. There's so little to gain from it. Like, if they start taking down lore channels, okay, people still aren't going to go to Warhammer Plus for their lore. Like, that's nonsensical. But at the same time, I mean, they're striking mods made for a third-party product. I mean, that's so far out of the realms of what I would ever have imagined that I just don't bloody know.
Yeah, it's their behaviors just got me. I'm so like I don't understand the overall strategy. I mean, I understand the context that we've been talking about and stuff like that, but like, so it's like I don't know. I don't know if they're going to take that to its illogical conclusion, just go after everybody. It's like someone goes on YouTube, hey guys, I play Warhammer. Oh, nope, you get a cease and desist. Please don't mention our product on your show. You know, it's like, it's just crazy. Like, are they going to start sending cease and desist to Henry Cavill? Stop painting our minis on your Instagram, you giant nerd with tiny arms. But he has very short arms, by the way. I don't know if you noticed.
I don't know if I did. I'm trying to think about it now, and I can't visualize.
Next time you see Henry Cavill, just look. His arms don't go down far enough, and it cracks me up every time. Mainly because that Star Wars girl is infatuated with him, so I like to rip on her for that.
See, I'm infatuated with Henry Cavill too. I really do dig the guy, because he strikes me as an actual nerd and an actual fan. And I'm like, yes, Hollywood needs people like that, because there's too goddamn many anti-fans in Hollywood. Like, look at what they did to Star Wars. Like, holy shit.
You know, what was my favorite This Is So Hollywood moment recently was Matt Damon is doing a movie where he's an oil rigger in Oklahoma. And so he went to go spend time with these guys who work in the oil fields in Oklahoma, very far from LA or New York, right? And they're all like Trump guys. And so he's like, you know, we had disagreements at first, but then after a while, I kind of realized, you know, they're just normal guys, you know, who maybe have, you know, we disagree politically, but that doesn't, you know, they're surprisingly normal people. And I'm like, you giant prick.
They're surprisingly normal people. Like, I think I read that article, and it kind of reminded me of that CNN guy who, after the 2016 election, brought some people all the way from Ohio as if they were goddamn aliens. And it's like, what weird traditions do you have then, foreigner?
Right. It's like, how many of your own daughters have you married? You do the polygamy.
It's because they live in a bubble. Like, they don't think there exists a normal world outside of their little extraordinarily closed off clique, and they're bloody confused when they meet them. It's like, wait, hold on, you don't hate all black people? No. Why did you think that? Well, you voted Trump. And
yeah. Well, you voted Trump, so
a confused stare.
Okay, so you don't hate all the black people, but how many of them have you killed personally? Like, your family has to have a history of lynching, right? I mean, that's the only reason you do this. No.
Where are the white cloaks?
They're in your closet, buddy. Mega Movas says, King of the Hill is the best anime. Fight me IRL. For real, though, King of the Hill needs a reboot. Mike Judge had the right idea for that series. Also, Tiny's to buy Games Workshop yesterday. Quick, throw money at the GoFundMe. Have to throw a lot. Yeah, King of the Hill was a good show. The problem I have with it is I am literally related to people exactly like that, so it was weird to watch. 'Cause I'm from Texas, and I have relatives who look and sound like each of those guys. But yeah. Well, man. So this is super awkward. I don't really know how to do much more on the show because I'm so flustered by the the internet crapping out. And I think we've hit the main topic that we were talking about, which is this Games Workshop shutdown, which seems ultimately short-sighted. So I don't know, unless you have anything else, I think we should probably wrap up the show. I'm really sorry my internet decided to die in the middle of it. Maybe we could do a makeup show sometime and have a more robust conversation. But I'm away from my computer. I can't even read chats outside of the ones that come up right now, and so it's like it's very awkward. I feel naked.
Yeah, no, man, we can totally do this again as well. That's fine. And I think we have covered the main topics so far.
Yeah. Well, man, I appreciate you coming on. One last chat here I see. Glow in the Dark says, Wokists are pissed at you wanting to gatekeep, although I think you were too late, Arch. I see you got to Games Workshop. Well, I guess real quickly, yeah, do you want to talk about the importance of gatekeeping hobbies? Because I changed my tune on it. I think you were part of the reason I started to change my tune on it.
The thing is, like, I've on the Archcast, I started making like a gatekeeping series because I was like, all right, gatekeeping gets a bad rep because like gatekeeping, keeping people out of the hobby, that's horrible. And a few years ago, I would absolutely agree. Like, no, we need more people in the hobby. But I wanted to kind of approach the topic and ask myself, like, okay, why do we think this is bad? Who has defined this as bad? The wokists. The people who are now screaming that they need to gatekeep the hobby for the evil right-wingers. All right, so gatekeeping isn't bad. It's a political tool that you have used to infiltrate us and now are using to actually attack us.
Yeah, it's amazing that they're opposed to the concept of gatekeeping, but then when they infiltrate, which is a great word for it, they infiltrate into a hobby, they immediately want to gatekeep out people that make them quote unquote uncomfortable by just people who are playing the hobby. Like, someone who wants to play an orc and have the orc be evil or eat fried chicken or whatever. That is apparently offensive.
Absolutely. And after 3 episodes, I figured, okay, I'll wrap it up after 3 episodes. But after 3, I was like, no, there are so many topics to talk about here that I made it into a semi-regular series where I discuss the various elements of gatekeeping. Because there's a lot to it, and specifically also how to do it, why to do it, and how it is absolutely morally justifiable. In fact, it's necessary. And here's the thing. If you have a hobby that you love, wokists will ruin it because they are not interested in the hobby, because they have a greater good. That is the fundamental principle of why they ruin everything, because when they come into 40K, they've got 2 things in their minds. I'm sure they do like 40K to an extent, but far more importantly is their political views. They have valued diversity and inclusion and these buzzwords above the hobby, and so when the 2 come into conflict, their politics always win. That's the greater good. And so they will inevitably start changing things. They'll go, oh, I like 40K, but we need to change this. Or, oh, no, we need to add this. Oh, no, we need to do it this way. And this will end up ruining the hobby. It is unavoidable.
Yeah, it's always the funniest thing to me that these people get credibility. They're like, no, I've liked Warhammer for years. It's just that I find the lack of female Space Marines to be troubling. Like, well, then I don't know how you could have liked Warhammer for years. Like I don't understand that. There's tons of strong female characters in really high and powerful positions all over the place. So you can't. I mean, hell, even I guess I don't know if Slaanesh qualifies as female, but because Slanesh is a trans furry or whatever. But close. You've got him at
Slanesh is all things at once.
Right. All things to every person, all horrifying things. But yeah, you've got female inquisitors, you've got females at the top of the Imperium in the Administratum. You've got them as the High Lords of Terra, like several of them are female. You've got the solely female army of the Sisters of Battle. So you have this female presence, but then you've got these people coming. I've been a fan of this for a long time, but I just think there needs to be more women in it. It's like, wait, but there are women everywhere. What are you talking about? And it's the same with D&D. Well, I've been a fan of D&D forever, but I kind of find that Drow are racist because they curry. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, where did you come up with this? How could you have been a fan?
And that's the thing. It's because this is a wedge thing for them. I think they do like it to a certain extent, but it's not the most important thing for them. Their ideology is more important, which is why that always is the one that gains the benefit of the doubt. That's always the thing that they want to push. And what do you say there too? This is another thing I've discussed in the gatekeeping videos. When you say that, but 40k has strong females, we have the Adeptus Sororitas, we have female Inquisitors, this is not a problem. You've already lost because you have initiated the argument. You have accepted their premise on this. Yeah. You have decided to engage in the conversation that there isn't enough female representation, when the only correct answer is to go, no, fuck you. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, get out.
Yeah, literally. Like, no, we don't care about your female representation. Go away.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's the gatekeeping that needs to happen. Is because people think, well, you don't want to gatekeep because you don't want to keep people away from something. Like, what right do you have to do that? How do you try and stop someone from enjoying whatever? It's like, no, it's not about that. It's just about telling them to piss off. Anytime that they come up with a crazy theory, yep, piss off, don't care, don't want to hear it.
Yes, that's what I've been talking about and codifying, because sure, everyone's welcome. You can come in and play 40k. Well, everyone was welcome until, that message, but details. But the moment you say, I like this, but nope, sip, go. No, we don't care. I'm not even going to hear your argument. This is 40k. This is the universe. If you don't like it, fuck off. Like, that's it.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got Phoenix Lord Asterman says, this Games Workshop stuff is genuinely depressing. Been around 40k all my life, and it keeps my uncle's squat uncle's squat army on my craft world. I knew with GG or Gamergate that this fight would come to Games Workshop, but I always hoped we'd avoid it somehow. Well, I entirely sympathize. The harbinger comes for all at the end. it's because that's progressivism in a nutshell, is that it will by baby steps encompass all things. It is relentless, and it moves slow enough that most people don't notice until it's too late, till they've built up overwhelming things. That's why I laugh like every time these Me Too accusations are getting bigger and bigger people. I'm like, yeah, start getting everybody. Recently, they canceled Frank Miller from a convention over his comic that he wrote back right after 9/11. And it's like, yes, good. Cancel Frank Miller. Cancel George Lucas next, or cancel whoever, somebody big that people like. The bigger, the better. Just keep canceling everybody, because we need people to start realizing and go, hey, wait a minute. I trust that guy. I know he didn't do that. We need more people to do it. And it's not going to happen if they keep picking these smaller targets.
It needs to be made more and more obvious. And more people are realizing this. But there are still people now who just look at you like, what do you mean leftism? What do you mean leftist wokeism? These aren't real things. I'm like, oh my Jesus, don't make me start from the beginning.
So you got to pull out a whiteboard, like sit down. Here's a folding chair, and you're going to be strapped in for hours. Here we go.
Yes.
Go. Let's start here. Stalin. No. All right, man. Well, hey, let's wrap it up for tonight, and let's do this again sometime when I have internet, because I'm really enjoying talking to you about this subject, and I think we could have a really good conversation. But like I said, I feel like lost. It's weird.
That's fine. That is entirely fine. But yeah, no, we can totally set up this again sometime because it's been fun.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And also, I'm supposed to play like Bannerlord or something with you and Sargon sometime, which I just have to figure out what schedule that. Oh, yes. Yeah, Gladius. There you go. I'm
Sargon sets up that group. Like many groups, Sargon sets up, and then Sargon wanders away to eat his tea bushes.
That's okay. We'll do it. I'll need you guys to coach me through. I've never watched anyone else play Gladius, and I can guarantee you I'm worse than anybody. So it'll be perfect.
Good. Another Sargon.
All right, man. Well, let's end the show, and then bye in private in just a second. To the chat, sorry for the shorter stream tonight, but with the internet out, I'm on 1 bar of service, and you can tell I've got the potato cam going. So we'll see you guys tomorrow, and we'll see you guys next time.